Hey, so I saw this video on YouTube like a couple days ago, and the video is actually called Why Jey Uso Should Never Be a WWE Main Eventer. And I thought, that's a pretty bold statement to make considering how over Jey Uso is. I know he's not the best in the ring. He definitely can get repetitive at times, but I want to see what this take is like. So this video is by Stunned by Wrestling. We're going to actually watch it and I'm going to react to it because, yeah, I haven't reacted to a video in a minute, so let's get into it.
We need to talk about Jey Uso. Despite what WWE keep telling us, I don't think that he's main event material. And I'm not sure that he's ever going to be. It
Bold
was at
statement.
SummerSlam in 2020 where the Bloodline storyline started. That's where Roman Reigns turned heel and he became the tribal chief soon after. Jimmy Uso was injured at the time, and so Jey, on his own, aligned with cousin Roman and became his right-hand man.
Can you imagine how differently wrestling would be had Jey Uso not have gone out on his own? I mean, maybe not the whole landscape of wrestling, but at least the landscape of the Bloodline would be if Jimmy were not injured and Jey would have had to go out on his own as a singles competitor. Like, he ended up becoming an integral focus of the Bloodline storyline and ended up feuding with Roman Reigns. I don't know if all that comes without Jimmy Uso being injured in the very beginning of the storyline. He would not be, I don't think he would be where he is if Jimmy Uso wasn't hurt. And now Jimmy Uso's hurt again, but Jey Uso's already been kind of cemented as a single star without Jimmy. Like, if Jimmy came back tomorrow and they started teaming, I don't think anyone would have any doubts about it. We already know they're going to go down as one of the greatest tag teams in professional wrestling history. But we truly don't know how much mileage we can get out of Jey Uso until he actually is in the position of being a singles champion. Because for as long as Jey Uso has been over, he has not actually won an IC, a US, like WWE. He hasn't won a singles championship yet. So when he's in that position and he's kind of leading, then we'll kind of have a better understanding. Right now, he's just kind of in that mid-card, top mid-card position as like a babyface. And he's still a very, very over babyface. But there's not really too much to go off of right now with Jey Uso, outside of the fact that, the crowd just likes him. So we'll continue on, though.
It was here that they started calling him Main Event Jey Uso, and he started getting a bit of a push. At the time, I was willing to give Jey a chance, but even then, he wrestled and acted like a mid-carder and nothing more.
How do you wrestle and act like a mid-carder? I mean, act like a mid-card... That statement doesn't make too much sense. Like, you can't act or wrestle like a mid-carder. You can only be positioned as a mid-carder. Oh, that's a very odd statement. Like, you gotta explain what you mean by that.
Some wrestlers have that genuine superstar quality, but I just couldn't see that in Jey.
But Jey was, honestly, in my opinion, I think Jey is one of the best. He was one of the best actors of that entire Bloodline story. Like, yeah, Roman Reigns, when it came to getting the crowd invested and hating him and being a detestable, manipulative leader in person, Roman Reigns is at the very top. He was the best. But right beneath him was Jey Uso. Because Jey Uso, when he was having those segments with Roman Reigns, with Sami Zayn, with Jimmy Uso, with Solo Sikoa, with Paul Heyman, like, I was locked in. I think everybody was really locked in, especially when it was Jey and Sami. So I feel like position-wise, even when he was teaming with Jimmy as part of the Bloodline, even then you could still see glimmers of, like, this man has something. At least that's what I saw. This guy didn't see it, but him saying, like, he didn't wrestle he wrestled like a mid-card, it's such a loose thing to say. Like, how does one wrestle like a mid-carder? You could just say you don't like the way someone wrestles. They don't wrestle in the way that you see them being a main eventer. But saying they don't wrestle like a main eventer, that doesn't make any sense.
Over the next couple of years, WWE went back and forth when teasing Jey, turning against his brother and turning against Roman. They did a really good job of ratcheting up the tension in the group, with Roman becoming...
Yo, 2022 really was peak Bloodline for me. Like, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, that triangle of those three men, because Jimmy and Solo were just kind of there, and Paul Heyman was just kind of... Paul Heyman was very integral, but Jimmy and Solo were kind of there in 2022. It was really Roman, Jey, Sami. That was peak Bloodline. I think right now we're having like Tama Tonga and all these other Samoans coming in. That's going to be interesting. That might be like, a little a little like injection into the heart of the Bloodline that they need coming out of WrestleMania. But I don't know if it's going to quite touch what we saw in 2022.
Being paranoid
I don't know if it's
about
touching
Jay's intentions. I've got to admit that Jey did a really good job in his role as a supporting character in the Bloodline story.
He was the best supporting character in the Bloodline story. Like, you can argue maybe Sami, but I think Jey was the best one.
Storyline. And the moments that...
Without Jey Uso, the Bloodline story would not be what it is without Jey Uso. Like, it's just that simple. You can have Roman, you can have Jimmy, you can have Solo, you can even put Sami, but if there's no Jey, it's not going to that next level.
He and his brother turned on Roman was really spectacular. I certainly marked out when it finally happened. That led to the main event of SummerSlam in 2023.
Such a bad match. I was there for it, and here's the thing about the SummerSlam match. I feel like everybody knew going into the show, I especially knew, that even though we wanted Jey to win, we knew he wasn't going to. Like, we're just so deep into Roman's 3-year-long reign. We already had 2 matches between the two. We're waiting to get to WrestleMania 40, where we're probably going to get the rematch between Roman and Cody. Like, this just does not seem like the time nor the place for Jey to win. Doesn't seem like the time nor the place. So I think we all kind of accepted that fate that he was going to lose. But I don't think anybody really saw the turn coming with Jimmy Uso, because it didn't make too much sense at the time. And even still now, I don't think it really made that much sense. They kind of threw the whole jealousy thing in there, but like, it didn't make much sense at the time as to why Jimmy would turn on his brother. So this match is just, every time I look at it, I'm like, This is one of those matches where it's like, it probably would have been better if it never happened. This match, I feel like the story would have been better if this match never happened, honestly.
A match between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. For me, this was going to be Jey's proving ground. We were going to see whether he could actually excel in the main event of one of the biggest shows of the year. Before this, Jey had never had a singles match on a major show, let alone being in the main event itself.
I mean, didn't he main event Clash of Champions and Hell in a Cell 2020? I mean, I know you probably don't count that because it's the Thunderdome era, but it's like, that technically isn't true. He did main event 2 pay-per-views already.
And this headline match in front of 51,000 fans was going to be sink or swim for Jey Uso. Unfortunately for Jey, he sank because the match was terrible.
That is also doing part to Roman, right? You can't put the whole blame on Jey Uso for the match sucking. I think that's unfair. That is very unfair for you to say he sank, and it's like, and you're basically trying to put it all on him. Like, no, Roman was a part of that match. It really is doing parts of Roman's style. When Roman wrestles, we know a Roman Reigns match when we see it, because a lot of his matches follow a very similar format. Very slow build. He works on top for at least the first 15 minutes. Then it's very reliant on the comeback of the other wrestler. And then you go from there. This match had all the elements of a Roman Reigns match, and it was kind of dependent on Jey Uso to be the comeback guy, which we saw them do twice already. And it's not like the first 2 matches they had weren't good. It was that one, the chemistry just wasn't working that night for some reason. But then midway through, we started having Solo and then all this other stuff, and then Jimmy. The match fell apart really halfway through, and that's not Jey's fault. That's not all of Jey's fault. We can't pin that all on Jey. That's unfair.
It was slow and tedious, and it dragged on for 36 minutes.
Yes, it was very long, but again, you can't put that all on Jey Uso as if Roman Reigns was not a part of that match, bro. You can't.
SummerSlam had already been on the air for 3.5 hours, and this match would have benefited from being 20 minutes shorter.
That's WWE's fault for making it go that long.
Despite it being a so-called tribal combat match, a no-holds-barred match basically, it just plodded along. They introduced kendo sticks and chairs, but they did nothing, and the overarching problem was everyone knew that Jey wasn't going to win.
This is very true. Like I said earlier, I think everybody in that arena knew he wasn't going to win. That didn't take away from the fact that we still wanted to see it. The outcome was very inevitable, put it that way.
This time, Roman's title reign had reached monstrous proportions, and it was obvious that Jey just didn't stand a chance of dethroning him. When Roman went on to put the title on the line against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39, and when he faced Sami Zayn at the Elimination Chamber, the fans truly believed that both of those men could beat him.
Could, yes. We're going to no. And you can say the same thing for Jey. Could Jey have beaten Roman? Yes. Was he going to beat Roman? No. I mean, when we got to Sami Zayn versus Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber 2023, could Sami have beaten Roman Reigns? Absolutely, but we were 1 month away from WrestleMania 39. Was the main event really going to be Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes? No, that didn't make any sense. So, you could say the same argument for Jey Uso. It's like, yeah, could, yeah. Was it ever going to happen? No.
In fact, the fans were shocked when they didn't beat him. So what went wrong for Jey Uso?
I don't think fans were really shocked when Roman Reigns beat Sami Zayn. I wouldn't say that.
Why didn't the fans believe that he could beat Roman?
Because wrong place, wrong time. I think it was just, like I said, it's the fact that we're so deep into Roman Reigns' title reign, and the fact that Jey Uso just, I'm trying to better explain this. I don't know how I could say it other than it's just a time and place thing. I think we all knew, just from this face-off fire, we all knew they're trying to get to Roman versus Cody again somewhere down the line, and Jey winning the championship does not factor into those plans. It doesn't factor into those plans. The time and place to do that match was 3 years ago, not in 2023 in SummerSlam. It just was never going to work. And I don't think it's the fact that, nobody believed that Jey Uso was going to be a main event star. That might be true. There are people out there like this guy right here who believed that. But I think most people were probably ready to accept the fact that if Jey would have won that match that night, we would have took Jey Uso in. Now, that would have been sink or swim for Jey Uso had he beat Roman Reigns and seen where he would go as the Universal Champion, but we never got to see that, so we don't really know.
If you look at Cody and Sami and Jey, they all had epic storylines that were months and years in the making. In fact, Jey had a longer storyline than either Cody or Sami going into his match with Roman. Well, firstly, I don't think Jey is a very good singles wrestler. Some wrestlers are just better in a tag team,
and that's a respectable take to have. You don't think he's a good singles wrestler. I can respect that. Do I agree? I don't necessarily agree, but I can respect that take.
He seems to get lost in singles matches. They tried to mask his limitations here by making this a tribal combat match, but the length of the match totally exposed him. Of course, being good in the ring isn't strictly necessary to be a WWE main event superstar.
100%.
Some wrestlers have what I describe as main event charisma, which totally transcends their wrestling skills. Look at the likes of Hulk Hogan and Psycho Sid from back in the day. They were both really bad wrestlers, but they had main event charisma.
I don't know about Psycho Sid having main event charisma, but that's just me.
Coming out of their asses. although he did have a decent main event match versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. And while it was very good, I think Rollins is one of those wrestlers who could have a good match with a broomstick at this point in his career. Jey also had a fun match with Gunther for the Intercontinental title on Raw. That was a match that he lost thanks to interference from his brother. The rumour at the time was that Jey was booked to beat Gunther.
I don't believe that for a second.
For the Intercontinental Championship, but that plan was changed at the very last minute. And I'm glad that they didn't go down that road, because I don't think that Jey is even worthy of the Intercontinental title at this point.
That's kind of a crazy... So your title is why Jey Uso should never be a WWE Main Eventer. And mind you, the IC title is a mid-card title. So you're saying he shouldn't be a main eventer, but then you're also saying he's not worthy of the IC. So what is he worthy of then? You just want him to be dwindling in the mid-card the whole time? This guy's over. He has charisma. You admitted it yourself. So what do you want him to do at that point? I mean, go after the US title, yeah, but is he going to beat Logan Paul? Probably not. I don't know who's going to beat Logan Paul, but it ain't going to be him. And saying that Jey Uso's on the Raw brand, he only could go after the World Heavyweight Championship and the IC Championship. You don't want him to be a main eventer, so he can't go after the World Heavyweight Championship. So the only other option he has is the IC Championship. And if you don't want him to go after that, then he has nothing. He has to go back to being a tag team guy. I mean, if that's what you want, then I guess you should just say that.
And what a letdown it would have been to end Gunther's epic title reign. But
I will agree. I would not have wanted Jey to end Gunther's title reign. I will agree with you on that one.
By having
I also don't think it should have been Sami Zayn. I would have had it been Chad Gable, but that's also me.
him lose to Jey Uso on an episode of Raw. And so, for the first time since SummerSlam, it was time for Jey Uso to prove...
So now this guy's about to go and put all the blame on Jey Uso for this match when it was both of them. Both of them just did not have chemistry with each other. But let's hear him say, I feel like he's about to put the blame on Jey Uso, even though the blame goes to Jimmy as well.
Prove himself in a singles match on a premium live event, WrestleMania, no less. The story of the tag team breakup and subsequent match is always more interesting when the tag team is made up of brothers. And the build-up to Jey versus Jimmy had been more than a decade in the making. With so much history behind this match and it being part of the incredible Bloodline storyline, this should have been a really good contest. But unfortunately, it wasn't. It's unbelievable to me that two men who know each other so well could have a match that was this bad.
This is what happens when you have two guys with the same moveset and they don't change it up. No, neither one of these two men changed up their moveset to adjust and tell a great story. Instead, they just mirrored each other, and then we ended up getting what we got, which was really a bunch of the same and a bunch of nothing at the same time.
In terms of the actual wrestling, there was a strange lack of variety in their moves.
I wonder why.
The whole pacing of the match felt totally wrong, and in parts it seemed that they were rushing to get to the finish. But, as we know, the quality of the in-ring action doesn't necessarily make a bad match. There have been many matches where the quality of the actual wrestling hasn't been very good, but we've still been sat on the edge of our seats. Think back to Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania.
I'm about to guess this guy's going to talk about how the crowd wasn't alive for it.
18, for example. The atmosphere, the stakes and the emotional investment can turn even a technically mediocre match into one that resonates deeply with the fans. And we expect our main event level superstars to have the charisma to carry all of that across. This match at WrestleMania 40 exposed Jey Uso as not having that ability. If he can't...
So does this guy pretend like Jey Uso's the only man in the ring during his matches?
Excel in a match against his own brother with one of the biggest storylines in wrestling history behind it, then what chance has Jey got in the future in other feuds and singles matches. At Backlash, Jey faced Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I thought that match was fairly good. Like, yeah, fairly good.
This version of the World Heavyweight title is an upper mid-card title at best, and this is the level that Jey should stay at. The real.
But I thought you don't want Jey going after the IC title, so... What? Okay.
Major championship in WWE is the undisputed title that Cody Rhodes is currently holding.
Well, as much as you want to say it's a upper mid-card title, the world is still in its name. It's still a world title. The World Heavyweight Championship, it's a world title, so...
Holding. And Jey should never get anywhere near that one. The match at Backlash against Priest was an average mid-card match at best. Jey and...
I hate the way that you walk, I hate that you talk, I hate the way that you speak, I hate the way you sneak this, and if something we gonna beat that right. This guy just hates Jey Uso. This guy just Kendrick Drake levels of hate for Jey Uso, I feel like right now.
Losing.
Because don't get me wrong, I get where he's coming from the most part, but some of his argument just feels like this is so lopsided and just straight up like you don't like him. It just feels like you don't like him. And that's fine if you don't like Jey Uso. But some of this argument for why you don't think he should be main eventer is lopsided. Because you can make the same argument for the opponent that he's in the ring with. And you can make the same argument for a lot of people in professional wrestling. If you don't believe he should be a main eventer, that's fine. But then to say he shouldn't be going after the IC title, but the World Heavyweight title, that's kind of an exception, even though technically that's above the IC title. It's like, all right, bro. Okay.
Thanks to interference. Jey's got a lot to prove if he's going to be a main eventer.
Alright, listen, here's what I'll say about Jey Uso. I like Jey Uso. I think he's extremely charismatic. He's over for a reason. And when he comes out, the crowd gets hype. His matches generally are decent, sometimes good. Maybe on his best days, even really good. I think he definitely needs some work in terms of diversifying his moveset, because when it comes to longer matches, he said it himself, he gets exposed, and he does get exposed when it comes to longer matches because he is very limited in his moveset. He's been a tag team guy for 10 plus years, so he's still wrestling as a tag team guy. Jey Uso, in a sense, and I feel like this is probably what he should have said, Jey Uso wrestles like a tag team guy in a singles match. That's what Jey Uso is. He is a tag team guy at his core, and that's how he's going to wrestle because that's how he's been wrestling for so long. And I do think that Jey Uso could use some more seasoning in terms of learning more moves, learning how to tell stories in a different manner. That would benefit him a lot. But do I think he shouldn't be a main eventer? I wouldn't go that far. Now, as far as should he be beating Cody Rhodes for that? Yeah, I wouldn't say that either. I don't think Jey Uso should be Universal Champion because he, quite frankly, like this is, I don't know how he would excel in that role as the top guy in the entire promotion, the front right. I don't know how he would excel. The only way we will truly know is if he gets like, an IC, US, maybe a World Heavyweight Championship run. So I can get you saying he shouldn't be a WWE main eventer. But I would add the word yet to your title. I wouldn't just say he should never be a main eventer, period. I would end the story. I would not say that. But guys, what do you think about this video? Do you guys think Jey Uso should be a main eventer in WWE? Comment down below. Let me know. It's been a while since I did a video like this, so let me know if you guys want to see more of them. Drop some comments of videos I should watch in the future, and I'll talk to you all soon. All right, peace.